Today we're going to talk about project planning, the big mistakes that are made and how to do planning better. But first question is always, what's the purpose of planning in the cycle of a project? Well, it's very simple. The purpose of planning is to aid execution. And there's certain mistakes that people make time and time again that if they get the planning wrong, it actually makes execution more difficult. First big mistake is the project manager or program manager does the planning in isolation away from the team, meaning that the estimates, the definitions of done are probably going to be wrong because you're not using the wisdom of the crowd, the people who know how the work works, to actually build a plan. Second big problem is actually using a Gantt chart to build your plans. Well, why is that wrong? Number one, you don't get a lot of opportunity to really be clear on what are the definitions of done of the big chunks of work. Second big mistake is people tend to have misalignment in sizing, so the sizing of the chunks or the big pieces of work is all over the place. Third is, and I see this a lot, where we don't have clear dependencies, so we don't really know when something starts and something stops, and it means that especially for external dependencies, we can get caught out. And the other big issue is we bake in due dates, which, as you know, drives two things. It drives student syndrome, which is not starting as early as we could, and it drives Parkinson's law, which is expanding the work to fit the time that we've actually given it. So what to do instead? Well, here's my recommendation. Plan in a PERT diagram using something like Visio or Miro or any whiteboard program or even just post-it notes. Number one, you've got the opportunity to really be clear on the definitions of done because you've just got a bigger physical space to do it. We use this little kind of phrasing here with the team, where the team have to walk through, number one, we will build. That allows them to talk about the technical language, and then the customer will see, or we will see, which is what is the physical artifacts that we're going to see so that everybody's on the same page. That's when you may do some wireframing. The second element is that we're going to build this with the team, the people who know about the work. Third is, because we're going to have all our big chunks of work mapped out, what we're then going to do is be really clear on our dependencies, where we have internal and external dependencies. And also what we're going to do here is we're going to assign some resources so that we know when we have a hard dependency versus a soft dependency, and when we can actually do activities in parallel to shorten the plan and make sure that we're in a situation where we're not baking in multitasking. Final thing we're going to do is we're going to have some consistent sizing. The big chunks round about 15 to 20, 25 days. And what we're going to ask the team to do is we're going to ask them to give us a safe estimate, and we're going to ask them to give us an ambitious estimate. That means that we understand exactly how much safety we have in our plan, and we're going to use that as a buffer to make sure that we don't waste the safety that we have. Well, what's the benefit in execution? The benefit is we then know which chunk we should be working on so that we're not multitasking across the project. Number two, we've got some good definitions of done. Thus, when we break those down, it's easy to break it down into smaller tasks. Number three, again, because we have these definitions of done and because we've got our sizing, it's easy to size the smaller tasks and make sure that we're working on the right task at the right time. Number four, when we go into execution, we can be very, very clear on what task, what chunk of work we are working on versus the chunks that we should not be working on. And the final thing is that as we start to close off these pieces of work, we can see very clearly, visually, which things are done and which things still have to be done. If you'd like to take advantage of what's becoming our famous project audit, which within a few hours we can come in, have a look at your projects and your portfolio and point you exactly in the direction as to where you're going wrong and what to do differently. And by the way, our current clients are not only getting projects 94% of the time delivered much earlier, even if they're running late, we're also finding they're getting 4 times more productivity. So if you want to find out how to get that, click the link below, apply on the very short form, and we'll talk soon. Thank you very much.